So excited about this. A new survey has found that 1 in 3 secondary school teachers believe that boys view being asked to read as a punishment, with 3 in 4 teachers saying there's been an increase in reluctant readers. So we are joined now by the woman who was dubbed Britain's strictest head teacher, and I want you to be the head teacher of my children's school, Katharine Birbalsingh. You talk my language. Now, why do children see reading as a hassle, a distraction, or a punishment, even, this survey's finding? It's not just boys, I think girls as well.
Yeah, this is a subject very close to my heart. It is because of the smartphones and access to the internet. And sadly, parents don't realize nowadays you see toddlers sitting on the tube and on buses and so on, and they're there with phones. If you are giving your children smartphones from a young age, they will never love reading. A book cannot compete with a phone. Phone has lots of colors and explosions and changing things and so on. A book is black and white and flat. And if you want your child to love reading, you must decrease the amount of screen time. Frankly, I would suggest no screen time to under 5s at all until they have got to a point where you've got so many books in their lives that is how they access their entertainment. If children can choose for entertainment between a screen and a book, they will always choose a screen. And people will say, well, there's a few exceptions. Yes, there are a few exceptions. But generally speaking, if you are inundating your children with screen time, they will never learn to love reading.
Yes, I concur. My now 13-year-old got her smartphone when she went to high school at 11. Until then, she was reading a book every 2 weeks, a book every 2 weeks. Now, she's not reading at all. It's become a battleground in our house. She's now having to earn her screen time once she's read, but the heels are dug in. And now she's saying, well, I don't want my phone in it either. She's just trying to win. Like, it's become so difficult. What would your advice be to parents like me when we are battling with this?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, my advice to parents of young children, don't give them phones at all. We advise to all our children here at Michaela, do not give your children phones until they're 16, actually. And the parents who follow our advice, their children are always in the top set, always excelling. And I can see that the children who are on phones all the time, they will often drop sets. They perform badly in their exams. They do not achieve their potential at GCSE. All your writing subjects, history, geography, religion, English, they all depend on reading. The only way you can improve your writing is through reading. And sadly, it's already hard enough with 13-year-olds, keeping them engaged with reading, because that's always been the case since, for decades. It's even more impossible when the parents are giving them smartphones. Now, imagine if you're having that trouble now. Imagine if the child has been on a smartphone since they were 2 or 3 years old. They don't know what it is to read. So advice to parents who are in the wars, as you are at the moment, is, to be honest, I would say take the phone away. And I know that they will go on hunger strike, and they will also, they'll refuse to do all kinds of things. But
I was just going to say, Katharine, it's a brave parent who takes that advice, and I'm sure Bev would agree. A brave parent says no phone until you're 16.
Well, I'll tell you what they will say, Katharine, because this is the problem, their social life. They will say, I use sometimes the children in their school that don't have a phone, and I say, that girl does really well. She doesn't have a phone. Do you know what they say? Yeah, but she's got no friends either, Mum. She's got no friends. Yeah. And that's the problem.
Okay. So if you're worried about that, you could allow them your phone for half an hour so they can do a bit of communicating on your phone. If you want them to have social media, although I would highly advise against it, you could create a joint account together on Instagram. You never want them to have their own account, and you don't want them to have their own phone. You give them your phone. They're on there for half an hour. That's their reward because they did their homework well, or they did the washing up, or whatever it is. But do not give them their own phone. Unsupervised access to the internet puts your child's life in danger. It means every pedophile out there, every gang member, every undesirable has access to your child. They know where they live, they know their route to school, they know who their friends are, they know what they enjoy, and they know how to groom them. And I have seen this time and time again where children are put in seriously dangerous situations. Parents just don't realize. I have to ring the alarm bells. It's not just that you're breaking their brains. And there are all kinds of studies that show children, not only do they end up not reading, they are not as brainy as they once were. I have families here who take the phone away, and what they then say, first the child goes on hunger strike and so on, but once they get through that and the parent holds the line, every parent says to me, I can't believe it, I've got my boy back. He used to be this lovely, sweet boy, and then he turned into something I didn't recognize. I took the phone away, and now I've got my child back again. He's the boy he once was.
So this is what a lot of parents will be saying, because the voice is in my head. Safety. They get the bus back. We need them to have a phone. They need to look at the bus timetable on their phone. They need to swipe in and out of the bus with their phone. How do you live without it?
What I would say is that we are kidding ourselves. Your child is actually far more unsafe with a phone, because you are inviting people into your living room who you would never normally speak to. Your child is mixing in a world that you have no idea what they're getting up to. It is far more dangerous for them to have a phone. If you're worried about them because you think, oh, but I'd like to be able to keep in touch with them, and that really is about your worries, not about real worries, but fine, I understand that. Get them a brick phone. We sell brick phones at our school for our families so that you can still ring them, you can still text them, but most importantly, they will not have access to the internet. Print out the bus table, give it to them in advance. Don't be lazy, because essentially it's about being a great parent. And look, I know I'm asking a lot of you. I know it's hard, but you've got to hold the line, right? Hold the line, parents, because otherwise, I tell you, at 16, you're going to look after this conversation and you're going to say, I wish I listened to her.
Katharine, nobody's going to defy you. I have to say, you speak with great passion and conviction. You really do. And that's why you're Bev's favourite teacher, mine too. And I know Michael Gove was a big fan of yours when he was Education Secretary. But you're right, aren't you? When we were kids, I know I'm part of the dark ages, we managed without phones. We just got on without phones. We don't need to have our nose in them all day.
No, it's true. But I do also understand the parent who says, look, my child is saying, this is how people talk to each other. This is how I get my friends. So fine, lend them your phone for half an hour. The key point is that they can't have their own phone, because otherwise they have access to unsupervised access to the internet all of the time when you're not with them. And you don't know who they're speaking to.
Katharine, I don't want this to turn into my own individual therapy session, but I'm probably not alone in watching in this conversation. There'll be people watching who relate to this. When my son was going to high school for the first time and he had a complicated train and bus journey to take, I gave him a Nokia brick because I didn't want him to have the smartphone. And he got on the train and I would sit just to check the first few times he knew what he was doing at 11 years old. He didn't want me sitting with him, but I watched him. And all the other children were playing games together. And he sat there, lonely, and he couldn't interact.
Could have read a book.
But that's my point. The way they were forming their friendships was around the phone. And I watched him a few times and he came home and he says, Mum, I can't engage with these kids. I can't play. He didn't say engage, he was 11. He doesn't even use that word now. But he said, I'm not friends with them. You know, I can't play the things they want to play. What do I do? And I just felt cruel, and I thought relationships as a teenager are so important, and so many of their relationships are tied into this tech.
Yes, but you know what? They're not really talking to each other when they're playing with those phones in the train. The fact is that I do understand when they're at home wanting to communicate, so you could lend them your phone at that point. If he's reading a book, I mean, to be frank, if he'd been reading a book all that time, then he would be able to use the word engage. You know, like, you got to think about your child's future. It's true you want them to have friends, but they will have friends. It's not that kids who don't have phones don't not have friends. I mean, your children will exaggerate just how important the phone is, although I do understand it is somewhat important, which is why I get the idea of lending them your phone while you're at home, and then they can do a bit of communicating on there. And also you need to choose your school wisely. You know, go to a school where they don't allow them their phones out, so that when they're at break time, they're not all sat on the phone. They're actually speaking to each other. What kind of a relationship is it where you only communicate via the cyberspace? I mean, that's just weird, isn't it?
Katharine,
that you never have conversations.
Katharine, can we get you a new job? Could you be the next Secretary of State for Education, please? I think you do it rather well.
Well, Katharine, I've been dying to ask you, since you stepped down as the mobility czar, the social mobility czar, why did you step down? Was it just frustrating committees that never got anything done?
There was some of that. And then also, I couldn't just say what I wanted. Every time I would get on the news or on Twitter or whatever, and I would say what I thought, people would say, you're the chair of the Social Mobility Commission. You're not allowed to say that. And then I think, well, actually, I think I'd do more good by speaking the truth than being chair of the Social Mobility Commission. Plus, my deputy was excellent, and he's doing a great job. And I thought, you know what, he's going to do a better job than me. And then that way I can do what I'm good at, which is telling people what they need to hear.
Well, if you like free speech and being allowed to say what you think, you have come to the right place.
Absolutely.
We would welcome you back here anytime. As I say, you are my absolute hero, although I'm now terrified to go home and have some difficult conversations with my children.
Well, are you going to do it, Bev? That's the point.
Just hold the line, you know? Watch some films. I always loved Gladiator. Watch Gladiator. Russell Crowe holds the line. They go out to battle. The Romans go out to battle. They don't back down, you know? Hold the line. Remember, you're doing it for your children.
And they will hate me.
Stirring stuff. Stirring stuff.
Katharine Birbalsingh, great to see you. Thank you so much.